mocked you when you were quiet, they laughed when you walked alone, but now? Your name is in rooms you've never entered. There's good gossip about you, and they can't stand it, because the one they counted out, the one they tried to humiliate, is now the one everyone's talking about. You became the proof that patience pays off, and that silence is sometimes the loudest response. Chosen ones. This is not random. This is divine. You didn't chase the spotlight, yet it found you. You didn't beg for validation, yet honor was written in your destiny. And today I'm revealing 7 powerful lessons you need to hear. Why they laugh out loud but cry in silence. Why your glow haunts them, and how Islamic truth is the reason behind your rise. Let this message remind you, when Allah chooses you, no one can erase you. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Allah elevates whom He wills, and they hate it. They can't wrap their heads around it. How you, the one they overlooked, underestimated and dismissed, are now shining without ever asking for their approval. But the truth is, it was never about them. It was never about popularity, connections, or loud displays of power. It was always about qadr, divine decree. Say, O Allah, owner of sovereignty, you give sovereignty to whom you will, and you take sovereignty away from whom you will. Surah Ali Imran 3:26. When Allah chooses a servant for elevation, there is no committee, no vote, no permission required. He raises people from places of complete obscurity and puts them where their enemies never thought they'd see them. And that's what burns them. Because your rise makes no logical sense to them. It was spiritual, not social. They worked in groups to push you down, plotted behind your back, smiled to your face while stabbing you in silence. But still, you rose. Still, you thrived. They whispered lies to poison your image, tried to dim your light with envy and slander. But your nur was not man-made. It was sent from above. And when Allah says kun, nothing and no one can say no. He didn't consult them about your blessings. And now the same people who mocked your silence are choking on the sound of your success. They hate it, not because you did wrong, but because you did right without them. Because you proved that true favor doesn't come from cliques, crowds, or chaos. It comes from the throne of Ar-Rahman. And no one can block what Allah has written for a soul He Himself has chosen to raise. Lesson 2. You became their mirror, and they couldn't handle it. You didn't attack them. You didn't expose them. All you did was grow. All you did was rise, heal, elevate, and walk in purpose. And suddenly, they hated you. Not because you wronged them, but because your presence alone became a mirror reflecting everything they were avoiding within themselves. Your discipline exposed their laziness. Your purity exposed their corruption. Your strength reminded them of their weakness. And the worst part? You never even said a word. Just like light doesn't ask darkness for permission to shine, you didn't ask for approval to become who Allah called you to be. And that's what crushed them. And say, truth has come and falsehood has vanished. Indeed, falsehood is ever bound to vanish. Surah Al-Isra 1781. Your existence became truth in motion, and falsehood had no defense. You were a walking ayah, a reminder that fitra never lies, and their hearts recognized that. They couldn't handle it because you reminded them that they too were created for more. But they chose excuses. You showed them what it looked like to surrender to Allah while they surrendered to their egos. You didn't compete, you just transformed. And when a chosen one transforms, it forces everyone around them to face who they really are. Some are inspired, others are enraged. They start to resent your presence, not because of what you did, but because of what they didn't do. You didn't break them. They were already broken. You just stopped shrinking to protect their comfort. And now, they can't look at you because deep down, they can't even look at themselves. You were the light Allah sent to expose the shadows. And shadows always flee when the truth walks in. Lesson 3. Your name is being mentioned in high places. You may not see it yet, but your name is being whispered in places your feet haven't even reached. While some mock you in public, others are admiring you in silence. While certain hearts plot your downfall, others are being divinely inspired to open doors for you. Because when Allah chooses you, He puts love for you in the hearts of those you've never met. Indeed, those who have believed and done righteous deeds, the most merciful will appoint for them affection. Surah Maryam 1996. Your obedience, your patience, your struggle, it hasn't gone unnoticed. Angels have recorded every silent tear, every act of restraint, every moment you chose sincerity over showing off. That sincerity has weight in the unseen. And because of it, your name is now rising in circles you didn't even know existed. Opportunities are aligning. Support is coming. People are speaking well of you not because you asked, but because Allah willed it. And that's what shakes your enemies to the core. They use slander. They use lies. They use manipulation. Yet none of it worked. Because while they were busy tarnishing your name at ground level, Allah was elevating it above the clouds. You became a vessel of truth, and truth always echoes far and wide. You're not just being talked about, you're being respected, trusted, and chosen. They thought isolating you would finish you, but isolation became your preparation. They thought silence would bury your influence, but silence became your amplifier. And now, you're being remembered in boardrooms, gatherings, du'as, and hearts, because when Allah places His favor on someone, not even 1,000 tongues of envy can erase that name. What's written for you is not just provision, it's honor. And that honor is now speaking on your behalf. Lesson 4. You silenced them without saying a word. They wanted a reaction. They pushed your buttons, provoked your peace, and whispered lies behind your back, hoping to see you break. But you didn't give them the show. You didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't stoop. Instead, you gave them silence. And that silence spoke louder than any outburst ever could. It told them you were focused, not flustered, that you were rooted in tawakkul, not trapped in their opinions. And when they hear ill speech, they turn away from it and say, "For us are our deeds, and for you are your deeds. Peace be upon you. We seek not the ignorant." Surah Al-Qasas 28:55. That's what you did. You walked away with grace. You responded with growth. While they used noise to build confusion, you used silence to build a legacy. Because the chosen ones don't waste time arguing with people Allah is already dealing with. You didn't need to prove your truth. It was proven by your patience, your character, your rise. You let them laugh. You let them lie. And still, you rose. You let them talk, and still, you walked forward. Because in your silence, there was a roar from the heavens. The angels were recording, Allah was watching, and the very people who tried to humiliate you are now humiliated by the power of your peace. That's what eats them alive. Not that you fought back, but that you didn't need to. That despite everything, your silence became your sword, your character became your weapon, and your results became your voice. The truth is, you silenced them not by clapping back, but by elevating so high their gossip couldn't reach you anymore. Their laughter turned to confusion. Their mockery turned to regret. And now they sit in quiet circles, watching the one they tried to break become untouchable. You didn't curse them. You just let Allah handle it. And He did. With perfect precision, perfect justice, and perfect timing. You silenced them without saying a word. Because Allah said everything for you. Lesson 5. You were hidden for a reason. Now you're being revealed. They thought your quiet seasons meant you were irrelevant. They mistook your absence for weakness, your isolation for failure. But the truth is, you were hidden by divine design. Allah kept you in the shadows not to punish you, but to prepare you. Just like the seed must be buried deep in darkness before it can break through the soil and touch the sunlight. Allah placed you in seclusion so your roots could grow strong. Had He revealed you too soon, the pressure would have crushed you. The eyes of envy would have broken you. The attention would have distracted you. So He kept you unseen, not because you were unworthy, but because you were sacred. And your Lord creates what He wills and chooses. Not for them was the choice. Surah Al-Qasas 28:68. He chose your delay as protection. While others raced to be known, you were chosen to be refined. While others spoke loudly, you were taught to listen. While they ran to crowds, you ran to sujud. You were never behind, You were being held back by Rama. You were in the hands of Al-Latif, the most subtle, who was healing you quietly while the world wasn't watching. And now the veil is lifting. Now your name is being mentioned in places your feet haven't even touched. Doors are opening that no one knew existed, because it's not by their approval, it's by Allah's qadr. The same ones who said, "Where did they go?" are now asking, "How did they come back like this?" But this isn't a comeback, it's a divine emergence. You didn't chase validation, yet you're being celebrated. You didn't beg for platforms, yet you're being positioned. Because when Allah reveals what He has prepared in secret, no force on earth can stop it. And here's the most powerful part. Your glow is different. It doesn't scream for attention. It radiates from contentment. It doesn't seek applause. It seeks Allah's pleasure. That's what shakes them. That's what silences the mockers. They watched you disappear, assuming you lost, not knowing that in that disappearance, you found everything. Yourself, your Rab, your purpose. You were hidden to be healed. You were delayed to be developed. You were isolated to be illuminated. And now that Allah is revealing you, He's not just elevating you, He's using you as a sign, as a symbol, as a living proof that those who wait on Allah and remain sincere in the dark will be honored in the light. And no envious eye, no hateful heart, no mocking voice can dim what Allah has destined to shine. You are no longer hidden, not because you wanted the spotlight, but because Allah decided, now is the time. And when He says it's time, nothing and no one can hold you back. Lesson 6, your presence is a threat because it's pure. You never had to shout to be noticed. They felt you the moment you entered. The moment you walked into the room, hearts started racing, whispers began, and energy shifted. Not because you did anything loud or aggressive, but because your soul is different. You don't carry chaos. You carry calm. You don't walk in arrogance. You walk with adab, with humility, with light. And that, more than anything, terrifies people who are not used to purity. In a world where people wear masks just to be accepted, your authenticity makes them uncomfortable. You didn't have to expose them. You didn't have to fight them. Your presence alone reveals what's broken inside them. They feel it, even if they can't explain it. They sense your connection to Allah, and they don't know how to respond, so they attack what they don't understand. Your light makes their shadows nervous. Your silence forces them to hear their own noise. You don't need to defend yourself, because purity speaks louder than any argument. When your intentions are clean and your actions are sincere, Allah gives you a silent power. You don't seek the spotlight, but it follows you. You don't ask for influence, but it arrives. Why? Because you're walking in truth, and truth always leaves an impact, even when unspoken. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, carried this kind of presence. He didn't shout to prove his worth. His silence was powerful. His gaze pierced hearts. His character was enough to shake entire empires. And in your own way, as someone striving to walk the path of sincerity, you've inherited a piece of that legacy. Not because you're perfect, but because you're pure in your striving. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Surah Al-Hujurat 49:13. Not the most popular, not the richest, not the one with the biggest following, but the one whose heart is sincere, whose worship is real, whose soul seeks only Allah. That's you, and that's why they treat you like a threat, because they don't know how to handle someone who doesn't need their approval. You can't be bought, you can't be swayed, and you don't crumble under pressure. You've been through storms they didn't see, and you came out still worshiping, still standing, still pure, and now your very presence reveals their weaknesses. Your calmness exposes their anxiety. Your focus exposes their distractions. Your taqwa reminds them that they've been distant from Allah. You're not their enemy, but you're a mirror they don't want to face. That's why they mock you. That's why they gossip. That's why they try to paint you as something you're not. But don't shrink. Don't dim your light. When Allah has placed nur in your soul, it's not meant to be hidden. It's meant to guide, to uplift, and sometimes to disturb the ones still sleeping in darkness. And yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's painful to be misunderstood. But know this, even if they hate your presence, the angels love it. Even if the crowd rejects you, Allah sees you. And what better company is there than the one who created you, purified you, and chose you to carry this light? So walk forward, not with pride, but with peace. Not with arrogance, but with certainty that your purity is your strength. Keep your heart soft, keep your intentions clean, and keep walking in truth, even if it threatens everyone in the room. Because at the end of the day, they don't fear you. They fear what your presence reminds them about themselves, and what they could be if only they submitted to Allah the way you did. Lesson 7, the laughter will fade, but your legacy won't. They laughed at you, loudly, publicly, behind closed doors and in open circles. They thought your pain was permanent. They mistook your humility for weakness, your silence for surrender. They cracked jokes at your expense, entertained crowds with your name, and convinced themselves that their mockery defined your worth. But what they didn't know is that every laugh they threw your way was being witnessed by the one who sees all, hears all, and never forgets. Allah is not unaware of the wrong done to his servants. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was mocked too, called a magician, a liar, a madman. The most beloved of creation was ridiculed by those whose names no one remembers today. Yet his legacy lives on. His message still breathes in hearts across generations. That's the difference between the mocked and the chosen. One is remembered for noise, the other is remembered for purpose. And you were never meant to entertain the world. You were meant to change it. Their laughter may have echoed for a moment, but your legacy will whisper through time. So be patient. Indeed, the promise of Allah is truth. Surah Ar-Rum 30:60. Patience. That's what separates the mocked from the remembered. You stayed patient when your name was twisted. You stayed kind when they wanted you bitter. You kept moving in silence, knowing that Allah was writing your story while they were busy writing you off. And now, that same laughter has gone quiet. That same crowd is watching, wondering, regretting, because they never saw this version of you coming. The one who didn't just survive, but rose. Not with revenge, but with vision. Not with pride, but with purpose. And the truth is, they never hated you. They hated that they couldn't break you. That despite the lies, the slander, the games, you kept glowing, kept growing. You found peace while they searched for distraction. You found Allah while they chased the world. That's what haunts them now. Because laughter fades, crowds forget. But legacy? Legacy echoes in hearts long after the noise is gone. You are living proof that dignity outlives drama, that purity outshines popularity. And now your name is being spoken with respect. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. In patience, in prayer, in silence. They tried to bury your voice in laughter, but they didn't know you were a seed planted by Allah. And what Allah plants, no human can uproot. So walk forward, not to prove them wrong, but to prove that Allah's promise is always true. You're not here to entertain, you're here to enlighten. Let them laugh, because every chosen one in history has been mocked. But also remember, every mocker in history has been forgotten. And you're just getting started. Your legacy isn't in their words. It's in your worship. It's in your character. It's in your quiet strength, your unwavering dua, your moments of sujood when no one was watching. The laughter will fade, but the light Allah placed in you, that will carry forward long after the noise dies down. You are not what they say. You are what Allah knows, and He has written something for you that no tongue can cancel and no crowd can silence. That is your truth. That is your legacy. So now you know. They laughed, they mocked, they whispered, but they never had the final say. Because the final say belongs to Allah, and He has already written your rise. You were never forgotten. You were just being prepared. Every tear, every moment of silence, every lonely night was part of the elevation. And now the same voices that tried to bury you are being silenced by your glow. Chosen one, you are not here by accident. You carry something divine. So protect your soul, guard your sincerity, and walk with the quiet strength of someone who knows who sent them. Let them talk, let them twist, but never let them turn you away from your purpose. You're not fighting for fame, you're walking for Jannah. And the path may be lonely, but you are never alone. The angels walk with you. Allah watches over you. And your name is being written in places far greater than their gossip. So stay firm, stay pure, and know this with your whole heart. They may laugh now, but soon they'll fall silent. Because when Allah elevates a soul, the world watches in awe. And your story, it's only just beginning. If this message touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, like it, and let others who feel forgotten know Allah never overlooks the ones He chooses.